Could be morning, noon, or night. Depends on where you are. Coming to you live. Hope everybody's doing good. Got to get this thing set up. Give me just a second. We're gonna get everything set up. NBA Finals, nay, it's gonna be real interesting. Real interesting. We're gonna look at it. Get this thing cranking up. I'll be going on real live real soon. Get things set up. Get these things on. About to get on. Get this thing up and going. See what we're working with. We'll get this thing on real quick. Okay. We are live now. We are live now. So what's up? What's up? What's up? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Obviously, I could have started with the NBA Finals, but the question is going to be about Myles Garrett because that to me was the big news. Him going to the Rams, leaving Cleveland. I was like, wow. Obviously, we can talk about the NBA Finals, but I wanted to talk about that Myles Garrett move. I thought that was like, Rams made a heck of a move. Obviously, when people come in here, we can talk about we can talk about the finals tonight. I mean, obviously, we can talk about that, but that football move was something. Um, Let me address a few things. People Bryson was a very good artist. Let the feeling flow was one of my favorite slow jams. Um, I enjoyed his voice. He's a very talented cat. Um, Hello, how y'all doing? I liked his voice. And of course, everything when he did when he went up working with Regina Bell and Celine Dion and started doing the Disney thing, that was a whole different side. And after he worked with Roberta Flack, but Soulful Cat hmm had a really good run. He had a really good run. Dexter Wenzel was I liked him as a producer. Nice over Egypt. Love TKO. Hurry up this way. In the Philadelphia sound, producer, songwriter, worked with the Jacksons, worked with quite a few people. Enjoyed his work. It's been pretty tough. 10-year anniversary of Ali passing. Uh, Prince's birthday would have been this coming Sunday. There's a lot of different things going on. Michael Jackson movie still doing crazy numbers. Um, just a lot going on. But yeah, I just was talking about this football real quick. This Myles Garrett thing really was like, whoa, okay. Um, I'm be honest with you. I'm looking forward to football season only because, well, because it's hard to get excited. This NBA thing's coming to an end. Um, and I'm gonna say this real quick: if the Spurs win, they win in 5. If the Knicks win, they win in 6. I think that the Spurs will make quicker work of them. I think the longer the series goes, it favors New York. Hmm. But I don't really have a rooting. I'd kind of like to see the Knicks win because, well, let's be realistic. You never thought you'd see that. But you see someone like Wimyama, you thinking this is another added on legacy to Spurs dominance, to San Antonio basketball that is, you know. So, you know, I got respect for both. Mitch Johnson done a great job with San Antonio as the head coach. Mike Brown done a great job with New York coming in. So it's a win-win. Two black head coaches going at each other. It's been great. Hello, how are you? How you doing? So, coming to you live on Wednesday. Could be Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night. Depends on where you are in the world. And just saying what's up. Gonna be here for a minute. Some people already took the poll. I think the Miles Garrett thing is definitely a big deal if you're a Rams fan. And it wasn't like they were that far off last year. So here they are in the Super Bowl. And you got a chance to be in the Super Bowl, you know. And we'll see. We'll see. We shall see. You know, so football season, this thing easily more so than AJ Brown. I mean, a lot of people getting excited about AJ Brown, but I'm like, no, this is going to easily tower that. What's happening? How you doing? What's happening? What's happening? Thank you for coming through. Glad you got my message, and I said I was going to come through today. And lo and behold, um, I'm on here today. Maybe tomorrow. Definitely today. And then after today, I won't be back until probably Sunday. So, but I wanted to get a good day in during the week. There's a lot going on. So, thank you for coming on. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's having a good week. We're in the first official week of June. Oh, wow. School is out for some. Some are still in school. But either way, summer is only a few weeks away now. Does it feel like it? Wow. How's it feel? How you feeling? The economy still sucks. There's all kinds of tension and stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's the same old same wherever you go. You know. Just want to kind of hear how things are. How's everybody doing? Yeah. Probably the first week where things are kind of like, I mean, the Michael Jackson vibe just hit hard. So, kind of cooled off on some people. We'll see. All depends on what you're watching. I mean, nothing gonna stop that though. Mm-mm. 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 Anyway, mm-hmm. We are here today. Feel free to comment. If you got something you want to talk about, let's do it. Mm-hmm. We're live. Just starting out today. Mm-hmm. Mm. They got these Canner. Who play a role? That's a great question. Nobody taking. Jamie Foxx is the only person in recent memories Jafar. Now, Leon did so much of Little Richard that he actually brought that over to David Ruffin. But that one had more memorable lines, like they didn't come to see you, Otis, than it was actually him portraying. And he's done a lot of biography picks. But I gotta say, Jamie Foxx. I gotta give it to Jamie Foxx. Gotta say Fox. I do like Leon. Man, I gotta say Fox. What happened? How you doing? Good to see you. I'm on live, so let's come with it. You got something you want to talk about? Let's come with it. Not for anybody. Anybody want to come through? Come on down. Because the questions is right. I'm having a good day so far, so let's do it. Doing good. How you doing? How you feeling? As far as what? You talking about career? What you talking about? I never heard no one ever lump those two together. Well, I'm gonna say Isaac Davis, of course, because I like Garrett Morris. He's underappreciated. But Isaac Davis was like a whole nother level. Oh, Isaac Davis. You know, Garrett Morris had a good career. But this is Isaac Davis we're talking about. Him and Ruby Dee were like the Ashford and Simpson of acting as far as couples. I could still hear him and do the right thing to a doctor. Well, you got an accent and a tone for one. You have more of a history. But it's connected. If you know anything about colonization, see, I grew up in Virginia. My family have ancestry through the UK. We got family tree in Wales, so we got all that connected. It's because of the accent, the tone, and because they got the hide behind it. But reality, ain't a lot. It's different, but then it's not. It's kind of like you got 6, 7 distant cousins. It's like you can see things, but then y'all kind of removed, you know? So it's kind of like a rapper that's a producer sampling the original funk. Like it's similar because it's music, but it's different because of how it's created. But you can see it connecting, but it's do the right thing in a blowout. That's not. Come on now, you gotta do better than that. Come on now, come on now. That's not even funny. That's not even funny. More Money was cute comedy. Do the Right Thing is one of the greatest movies ever. Not fair. Um, I think in the USA we more outwardly about it. Depends on where you are, who you're dealing with. Both of them are pretty much like there's a lot of similarities. The black experience hits a little bit different, I think. hmm how we go about stuff. hmm Police is different, though. I'll tell you that. UK, you ain't got to worry about them trying to bat you upside your head. They will profile you, but it's done differently. It's different. And that's probably the biggest thing I noticed. You know, but it's you black wherever you go, and then you're aware of stuff wherever you go. So that's all. That's all I gotta say about that. I like the music better than the States because everything comes from the States as far as musical. Food is a lot less, it's more healthier, but it's a matter of how you know how to mix and match your stuff. So it all depends on the yin and the yang. Depends on what you vibing with, you know. That's the key. I tell anybody, depends on what your vibe is like. Oh, always. Because you got a guy named Nigel Farage, who's basically like Trump, but he ain't in that kind. He don't. He carries weight in a particular class. Well, of course, it's the same. Cause you gotta remember they were colonized. Colonized. How you think the king? How you think they got that Buckingham Palace, all that stuff? That's always tension. If I tell you, it's no different than the states in that regard. Same old thing. They just like to always say class and stuff. It's the same thing. The same thing. They profile. They got some backwards ways. I lived in the South. There's things that are very similar, things that are different, but it's you know you don't because when that uh, England team lost the missed the goals in that game a few years ago, there was all kinds of racist things being said. So they're not that different. They're not that different. You know. The obviously the second one because you can be a tacky turkey with your clothes. We can always throw something on. We can come up with something. But if you're trying to please, you out here politic in a relationship, um, that's far worse. That's far worse. Um, Forgive me, that's just my cough drop. Stuff be tasting good too. Um, Let me get this camera on right. Because y'all know my head is bigger than my body, so I don't weigh that much. Um, because you can't dress is a matter of personal choice. But you worrying about what people think about you all the time. You must please everybody. You politicking. Mm, that don't work. That's far worse. So I'll work with you, you know. And I always go shopping. But if you're there politicking to please people, you catching L's. We can't be having that. So, no. I think and everybody keeps coming through because the numbers are going back up. I've been doing something right. Get more the channels back on point again. So thank you. Whatever is going on, thank you. Appreciate the likes, the clicks, the views, taking the poll. That's starting to roll proper line. Yeah. People judging you how you look and all that stuff is just that. So pay less of my mind. I got a ton of videos out too, by the way. So if anybody wants to know, I touched on what was I saying that I don't know how I don't even know what to say about that one, but I'll say well cool. Well, I've been told that in real life I'm pretty cool cat. It's no braggadocious nothing. I just carry myself that way. I don't be tripping off of much of nothing. I um I grew up a certain way, so you know. Opinionated, got thoughts and but at the same time, I ain't stressing on stuff. I don't be tripping on nothing. I just do me. I come to find out the stuff that I like and how I carry myself works best. So ain't no pretensions. You know. Well, I'm a conversationalist person. If people ask questions and we get into talking, I converse. I'm not here for no. I don't do clicks and views in the sense that everybody wants to be seen, appreciated for their God given talent and what they bring. However, I don't do stuff for popularity. Like, I'll be straight up. I'm straight up Michael Jackson fan, and I ain't got no shame in saying I always was. That ain't nothing new. Cause I've been defending Michael. you know. Whereas you got, and when I say that, it's popular. I'm gonna say this right now about that. If they win the series, I like them in 6. If San Antonio wins the series, I like them in 5. I think the longer the series goes, it favors New York. The Knicks, it's an even series as far as I'm concerned. And before someone comes at me about Victor Wembanyama, the Knicks will be able to maneuver that. Cat's gonna be a problem. If they play like they play against Cleveland, where they move that ball around, they're gonna be hard to beat. You gotta remember, for all the stuff Wembanyama did, OKC just had a bad. What was the problem with OKC? Slow starts, and Chad Hogan was terrified of Wembanyama. There's no. If he can hit his perimeter, if he does his best Magic Johnson impersonation with assists, rebounds, stat sheeting, OG does his best job. Josh Hart does his job. They should be okay. I mean, they aren't reliant. See, Mike Brown did the right thing after the Atlanta series. The reason why I think they got a chance in this series is because they made a turning point in the Atlanta series. They made a turning point in the last 2 series. Stop wearing Jalen Brunson down. Stop making him morph into like SGA. Because then you're looking for free throws, you're looking for the calls, you're frailing. Get everybody involved. And let other people show their versatility. So when Josh Hart, puts points in, OG puts points in, Cass puts points in, the more rounded they are, the more that ball moves around. That's how you beat. The reason why I think they got a chance to get the Spurs is because the guard play. Spurs are a little reckless. You play like that against the Knicks, they can make you pay. And the OKC got exposed because once Caruso couldn't do much, McCain, there ain't nothing in the glass. I think the Knicks will be a problem. Of course, that's all he's got to do. He ain't got nothing else going on in his life. He's still sore. He still got a tummy ache over Jay-Z. It's still fresh. And people are going to throw a mic on him. And Dame ain't met a camera that he didn't like. But Jay-Z looks ridiculous. Putting that wig on his head and dissing people. You supposed to be a billionaire. You talk about, so you above talking about what Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, but you come out here with a fro in your head, dissing people. And the thing is, there's a generation now that don't even care about Jay-Z. They have not really been immersed. I saw some of the people in the crowd when he was there. They didn't even move. And the younger heads ain't even feeling him. He looked ridiculous dissing people because, put it out on the record, he looked ridiculous trying to talk smack about people. As far as Dame, that's all Dame's got right now. Dame's got old memories. Sometimes that's all you got. I ain't got no problem with it. I laughed about the Goofy thing. What's happening? How you doing? I laughed about the Goofy thing. They all clout chasing. That's all it's about. But why would Jay-Z do that interview with that young cat and turn around and get on the stage with the Roots and do this mess? That made no sense. Talking about Jaguar Wright too. I mean, if you so-called billionaire and you've been hanging around Warren Buffett and all them, you ain't got time to be worrying about some side chick background singer or some so-called entrepreneur that faded. You look pretty bad. You look like you dusty yourself and out of touch. Because you think, well, I think he had validity with how Jay-Z did him from business. I have no problem with that. But see, as long as you stick to the business, I ain't got no problem. When you start romanticizing, fantasizing that you took Aaliyah from him, and that's why he went to Beyonce and all that mess, That's petty. That looks tacky. And part of me don't want to hear nothing else about Aaliyah again because she got passed around, and you know, there's a lot more going on with that. A lot more going on with that. You know, because I don't think none of them cats could really talk about Aaliyah, and they sure can't say nothing bad about R. Kelly since they went running behind the same thing. You know, it just you look at how people talk, what they say, what they don't say. It's a mess. And they all connected to Diddy. And they all in on how certain things have gone. So oh yeah, it's way worse. But see, we got more fish to fry like that Epstein Island mess and the president and Trump and all that garbage. This here but you know what? Come to find out, it's all connected. And yeah, didn't I hear that Justin Bieber's in them Epstein files? So what I'm saying, it's all connected. It's a political takeover which will shake what you see and what you hear, and you'll never look at people again. And what it's also done is vindicated Michael Jackson in a way that it's unrevealing the people that are the really ones that are involved in things. So, you know, that's the interesting take. hmm So it's far deeper than people can imagine. But I saw Art of Dialogue. I saw him. Yeah. Except the difference with this situation is unlike when you were wondering about Hugh Hefner and Playboy, or Larry Flint and Penthouse, and you didn't have the social media. What's happening? How you doing? Good to see you. Right on with it. Yeah, social media, and that's the difference. Let the feeling flow. Let the feeling flow. Uh, that 77, back when he had the afro and the white suit era, people, I say from 78 to about 82 was my favorite era of him. Oh yeah, because you can't compare file sharing downloads to when someone physically got off their behind and bought a record. You can't compare the two. Yeah. And we could sit here and just push buttons all day. Yeah, we can blow up anybody. But it's a big difference when you have to take your butt across town, cold, heat, snow, bus ride, train ride, car ride, bike ride, get on handlebars. I remember that came out in 83 and I had that on cassette. And it was cool. It was cool. That was the start of him going more adult contemporary. But I was more into the afro. You know, when he got the S curl and got all smoothed out, he went more into the adult contemporary. And he got the voice. Beauty and the Beast, good song and all that. But I like the more soulful version of him. You see, because that version of him that was out back in the day, he would have been like a precursor to Keith Sweat. He wouldn't have. He'd have had some crossover, no crossover. The white suit afro people, that was the people I dealt with. But he was a talented dude, and people don't know he was a multi instrumentalist. Play multi instruments too. I gotta say Gwen Guthrie because Thelma Houston, I liked a couple of her songs. She could sing, but you see, it's kind of like when I look at Jay Hood. Yeah, it's kind of like when I look at Jay Hood. You got a big voice, but that's more geared to what Leslie Uggams or Melba Moore doing that Broadway thing. Not whereas Gwen Guthrie had a nice tone, and she had and Thelma Houston just Don't Leave Me This Way was big, but it was like novelty, you know. It's kind of like how Gloria Gaynor came out, you know. And those kind of artists can fool you because they can have what I call big hits, but then they end up doing, you know, the most mid type of thing. You know, it's like running, you know. Yeah, people's getting some love. I'm glad to see people getting some love on the line. He was a good artist. He's what I consider really good, very good. You know. Well, the industry's all what you could make that case, or you could also say, trying to jump on the Donna Ross Love Hangover. Donna Summers. Well, Donna Summers, she made you step your game up. She made you step your game up. So, you know, but you got to do what you got to do. But the thing is that the Donna Summers thing still brought elegance. It wasn't done tacky, but disco was huge, and you wanted to not get left behind. She made you step your game up. She was one of the most. She's one of my favorite female artists ever. hmm But it's not bad to say. You're actually kinder than I am because I call them bad, double broke, bootleg, junior whoppers. Oh yeah, well, I feel love too. Before that, in '77, Bad Girls was more R&B, had a funk bounce to it. She, she knew how. She and Georgia Moroder were bad together. I loved, like I said, from '75 to about '75 to '79. She could do no wrong with hits. Um, she was prolific. She was productive. hmm I feel love is one of the greatest songs ever. That's that whole Euro sound. And when you hear it, cause it was the best thing that Kraftwerk didn't do. Back in the day, um, Flame. I don't compare no legit artist with a rapper making beats, cause you gotta remember, you can manipulate a hip hop beat. Big difference when you're an artist and you come up with your own beat. So I'm gonna give it to Bobby Caldwell on that. Oh yeah, I had it. It was 1975. It was actually 17 minutes. And that bass line was wicked. And there was no punching in. There was no Pro Tools. Your butt had to stay on pitch. It had to be on tune. I used to have that album. hmm In fact, I'll tell you a story. It was probably about, what was it? 30 plus years ago. I used to play albums before I go to bed at night in CD player. That was one of them because that Let It Love You Baby went on for, and I love that vamp. And so when it would repeat, it was cool. Oh yeah. MacArthur Park. Um, oh yeah. I'm huge on Donna Summers. She went over, and like I said, her and Georgia Moroder were unstoppable. The song that I prefer is Never Gonna Give You Up, but the arrangement I prefer is Walk On By. Because the way he arranged that, Barry White has some cold arrangements. But Never Gonna Give You Up is the one I listen to more. I love that groove. Two of my favorite artists. Both of them were great. That's some soul cats there. Shaft. You meant to say, um, did you mean to say Superfly? Because if you're saying Shaft versus Superfly, then I'm taking Superfly. But Shaft and Superfly are two of my favorite soundtracks, though. Not a fair comparison because two different tones, but I'm gonna say this. The Al Green song I listen to more. The Ray Charles song is the more iconic. But I'm taking Al. Yeah. Superfly. Love that soundtrack. But Shaft is right there though. It's a one of them you can't go wrong. Yeah, Lonnie Liston Smith was a bad dude. My parents used to have it records. Lonnie Listen was nice. hmm You can't go wrong when you listen to a cat like that. Thank you to everybody that's taking the likes and hitting the poll. Thank you. I see the numbers are going up. It looks great. Everything's looking good. Yeah. Yeah, Lonnie Listen Smith a bad dude. Bad cat. Today is better than I thought it was going to be. Well, she had better songs for one. Patti LaBelle always oversung. Um, I love like If Only You Knew. Like when she got something that I really like, it sounded great. But more often than not, she was over singing. Never had, and then when she tried to sound commercial and pop, that stuff was corny. Last night hit me hard. Glass one of my favorites. You know what I mean? And it'd be the was it um the Buddha Records era, after Motown, Columbia House era. She had hits on every era. You know, you know. I think Patti LaBelle had style. But I think Last Night was cooler though. Patti LaBelle always comes across loud. Thing about Glass Night, she talks, but she don't over put herself too much out there. So you really don't know. I even had her book. Patti LaBelle, she can't turn down a microphone. She's kind of giving me Busta Rhymes vibe. Like if you hung out with her, she probably would be none. Stop. Can't stop, won't stop. So, but I'm just going by the music. Cheryl Lynn, come on now. First of all, Endless Love sounded like some supper house thing that Luther did with Mariah. It was cute, but it ain't touching Lionel and Diana Ross. And it's not because the vocals, it's just that the song fit the way Richie and Diana Ross sung it. Had a light country feel. Luther and Mariah made it sound more suppery, and it just kind of, I don't know, kind of missed something. Luther and Cheryl Lynn were soulful. That's not up for discussion. It depends on what you like. If you like mid, soft, middle of the road, half a candlelight, then okay. But if you want something that kind of, that's why you think Kendrick hit with Luther. That's what he took. He ain't stupid. Shoot. Mm-hmm. Just saying. And I don't, that's a no-brainer for me. That's a no-brainer for me. Well, that's not fair to, I like Anita Baker. It's just that Whitney's voice is so magical for me. Because Anita Baker actually has some good songs. And I do like her Rapture record. She has some good stuff. You know. The Gladys Patty thing is because Gladys not only had better songs, but she sung most of the stuff that I like. So that's the difference. Um, you know. Bill Withers is going to start easily. Um, I'm gonna have to bench Ruffin. I'm gonna have to cut Peabody. I'm gonna tell you why. Because the Temptations. He had classic songs, and he was great. Peabo had a good career, very good, but he wasn't, as far as talent as he wasn't touching Withers for me, and he didn't have the track record that Ruffin had with the Temptations. So you got to give me something. Now, if you're talking just strictly solo careers, then it's gonna be in that order. But if you're talking about the whole body of work and at the and what they did in levels, but Withers is gonna win over both of them because he wrote standard songs. He was an incredible artist, one of my favorites. And during the pandemic, during that whole thing, shoot, I listened to a lot of Withers. He passed away. I listened to a lot of Withers. And his songs were simple, but they were effective. You know, but people get excited about Anthony Hamilton and some stuff Babyface did on one tour. Shoot, Bill Withers made that thing then. I don't think Anita Baker can touch Aretha Franklin. I don't think she can touch Whitney. I don't think she can touch Donna Summers or Gladys Knight. She can spank Mariah because once you get past the credits or whatever you want to say, she's got Mariah beat. Now, her and Sade are almost like kissing cousins. So that one is like, depends on what your preference is. Because they both feel that Supper Club. I'm kind of interested in that one. He got out because he was being set up. Did you ever hear the story about the little white girl in the studio with him that was running across the room naked? They're trying to set him up. They're trying to squeeze him. He got out. He had his rights. And he wasn't going to tap dance. They were going to squeeze the cheeks. Anita got Mariah beat easily. Because just what has Mariah Carey ever done that's touched an angel? Where is her Rapture record? Give me the best I got. Not there. Gladys Knight could sing and make your soul feel something. It ain't always about the charts. It's about the talent. Because Gladys brought the goods. She brought the goods. Oh, yeah, and I have to put Diana Ross above Young, Gifted, and Black. You put a spell on me. I like her playing. She had a haunting tone. Yeah, I remember I had that record. Because the song Next Time, she did that with Jam and Lewis. Next Time. And then she also did that End of the Road melody. She had that, Well, when I seen Anita and Sade kind of put me in the same mind, but I like Anita better. We're not hate. Well, you know what Mariah Carey is? You know what the problem is? She was married to the mob. She had those discount hit songs, which is a fact. Because I used to be a shopper back in the 90s, and her cassette singles were like 49 cents. They bought a lot of her stuff. She used a lot of samples. And they wanted to say she was a producer writer, but a lot of that stuff was just really mid. And so, yeah, she could sing. Let me give you the pros. Longevity, she can sing, does some stuff. Well, I'm put it to you like this, right? I heard two women by the name of Denise Williams and Mariah Carey. They sing circles around her and can hit the same note. And if you want me to be real technical with you, right? She can sing, but there's a woman named Shantae Moore. If Shantae Moore had the same situation, all things being equal, she could blow with Mariah. See, Mariah to me has always had like musical arrested development. It's cute and it's safe and it's nice, but don't have no depth. That's my knock against her. And they wanted to make her the light-skinned, off-brand Whitney. That's how it started. You should hear her gospel music. That's where Mariah could really do something to move me. Do a gospel. She could sing, just never felt that she had tone. Good singer though. Selena can sing, just ain't got no tone, not no feel. I liked her as a kid. Good vocalist. Um, Came out the same time as Shanice Wilson. I don't think she really put. I don't think she had enough depth though for the big picture. Got some talent though. Got talent. I just didn't see a long career. That's all. That's no knock. 60s. All that stuff she did with Burt Bacharach and Hal David, you can't go wrong. But then you might fool around and like what she did with the Sprinters, there came you. But I'm gonna say the 60s with her. And I got enlightened. I was watching Jaguar Wright interview, and she said something because I got a future video about it. Dionne Warwick was actually a prototype for white female singers when she worked with Bacharach. That style of crooning, but it worked. It was a sophisticated style. And see, now you get Anita Baker brought it more raspy, and Sade made it more cocktail lounge. But actually, Roberta Flack, they were soul sisters that made plausible music for white crowd audience, but also black audience, but yet it was accessible. Some people may think that they were panhandling, but there's some good stuff though. There's some great stuff. So all depends on how you look at it. But I'd say all her 60s stuff though for real. You know. You get your chance to all that stuff she did with Burt Bacharach. That's all you really need. She got about 5 or 6 cuts there. I'm taking Dion. The Supremes are the greatest female group ever. Because all that stuff they did with Holland Doja Holland still stands out. Baby Love, Stop the Name of Love, Love Child. I mean, they were incredible. Incredible. That's why Donna Ross is one of my top 5 female artists ever. Not because she's a great powerhouse talent or but she had an it. She had the right songs, and she fronted the most important girl group ever, and one of the most important groups ever, because she made being a leader the thing. Now, you asked me my favorite female singing group. Female, I'm gonna tell you the Emotions, because I love those harmonies with them Hutchinson sisters. But as far as the greatest female group, the whole nine, it's Supremes. Best songs, best front woman. They just hit. They just hit. So, you know, it just hit. And you can't even talk about it because Holly Doja Holland mopped the floor. Them songs still sound good. Stop in the name of love before you break my heart. You know. And she had it too. She had it. So I give her credits too. Now, because Phil Spector had more of a pop shine. Be my baby. They had more of it was a different hit. It actually had more an accessible thing, but no, it was different. That's how everybody saying. Oh, please, because that's what I like Bruno Mars. Like, as you know, I think he's the best artist going today. But that's the reason why he gets over. Cause that song he got out now is just basically "You Make Me Feel Like Dancing." He understood melody and he knows how to go in without going all the way through. But if you channel that, you know where it came from. You got nothing out here. It ain't not about being get off my lawn. You don't have anything. I'm taking the crystals. You've got nothing today. Why do you think the Michael Jackson thing set people off, had people out here losing their mind? 40, 50-year-old songs is tearing the streets up. And then, yeah, two things are true. He's a great artist, and the music holds up better. When I was a kid, and I always tell the story, I was real young, and Duke Ellington had died a few years prior to when I was aware. But I heard A Train. That came on the 20s. I went back on music. We did not have the technology. We had to go physically go listen. Excuse me, old records, fine stuff. I had grandparents who played music all the time. I got to hear bands. I got to hear orchestrations. I got to hear, and then I got to hear what I was listening to. So I caught all of it. And there's no excuse today for people not to when you got more access with when you can go on a stream site and listen this, listen that. You got no excuse. You know. A lot of problem with today's music is that it's just got that artificial sound, and they're not writing bridges, they're not putting out hooks, they're not putting out melody. And if they are doing it, I know some people are gonna tell me, well, the underground, all that. Well, you raise listen to this, that, and the other, but the problem is that on a whole, there's a void. And if you can play, you have star power, okay? And before somebody comes at me talking about, well, what about Leon Bridges? I said, I like Leon all right, but he ain't it. Oh, he did let him sample because 779311 and Darling Nikki were cleared for Pac. The Me Against, oh no, the All Eyes on Me, and there was something else. Machiavelli, they were cleared. He declined Biggie. I remember that because he went on about, do you own your masters and stuff. Yeah, well, what happened was is that this is the thing. What Prince was adamant about is this: if you don't own your stuff, there is a law that someone can approach your publishing and get to use your stuff because it's a copyright control thing. So people can still circumvent around using your stuff because the record companies own your stuff. That's why he was on about your masters and everything like that. And if they do that, they can circumvent from having to deal with the person. When they deal with the person, that's still going to end up paying them for his writing copy, a certain amount of money for all that. But there's ways around it. So they take what they take. Like Alicia Keys took How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore with Prince, for a debut record. So it's part of what goes on. And it's a different world because that's how people cover your songs now. They don't. The days you still get people who might actually play and cover your song, but the days of people covering your music by playing an instrument like they doing a cover album is one thing, but people more in line to sampling. No, no. Did you? Was it that dude named Scooter something? He sold the publishing got no. Her masters got sold. They wanted 300 or 400 million. She did get them back because what she got was because of the online. See, let me explain something. This is how you're able to get stuff back. Like Dr. Dre got his physical. That's a whole nother story. But they had Braun Scooter. Yeah, Hey, you are the talent Swift expert. He sold something behind her back. So they wanted 300 bills. Um, she because of the streaming has allowed you to get your masters back because that's a separate entity from the vinyl. Whereas if you had to just wait on vinyl, CD, etc., you'd wait 35 years. So this whole streaming thing then opened up a different floodgate for people. The problem that you run into though is there ain't no money in it. You got to do a billion plus streams just to break something even. And on top of that, unless your songs are in soundtracks or in movies or commercials or something, you ain't getting no money. They're not paying the rates that they used to. So consequently, that's why you see a lot of artists touring like crazy. And that's how the merch deals. That's why the companies are now getting half on the merch. You know. So it's not the kind of money it once was. Cause a million selling stream don't mean nothing. But there's money involved, so no, she always had problems. And as far as answering your questions, yes. Well, they made they work. There's a lot of negotiation because the industry's ran by lawyers. That's the reason why you don't hear. But it is white privilege, though. Don't get it twisted too. Oh yeah, we used to all do that. We used to have listening parties. We call people up, say, "What you think about this song?" I remember one time I bought Princess Sound of Times album, and a girl I used to dig, she had the dude she was messing with in the background one of my takes. Yep. I did all that. I used to borrow Kelly's records day one. And matter of fact, I found that Christmas album by him. I had to go to a used store, but I got it though. That was his last official record too. Mm-hmm. We did. See, that's a lost start. But I ain't, again, would I go to a record store today? Nope, because it costs too much to buy what they want to put out. And it's not going to help the artist no way. They don't help the artist out. These artists have to work for a reason. I mean, really work. Yeah, because if you like the vinyl and you like the credits, even though the credits don't really, because again, people never told the whole truth. I think that if you're a nerd, oh, vinyl always was romanticized by me. I had so much love. I remember when I bought Thrill on vinyl and Michael Jackson's artwork and reading the lyrics and the Shamones and all that, the choruses was like, wow. It used to be an experience. Earth and Fire vinyls I pull out, all that, all that. But that's a different era. The album smelled a certain way, the sound of it, a different era. Different. I wouldn't pay that kind of money today. Shoot, I went to the record store and they wanted like Olivia Dean's records for like 25 or 30. I'm like, are you crazy? Please. It's not the same. It's not the same. And there's no caliber of artists like that. There's this like I think somebody like Bruno can kind of get you hype. Uh they might try to throw Kendrick at you. They throw it just ain't the same caliber. Yeah. I remember that what well see let me tell you the industry brought that on themselves when they started doing the burner disc. She's cute. It's like Alicia Keys' daughter. It's cute. Safe middle of the road. What I call, brown Starbucks coffee. You know. Not no threat, you know. You know. If you like mocha Nora Jones style, there you go. That's what they want. She ain't bad. Yeah, it's the kind of thing that if I can hear from the distance, like if I'm out getting, I'm not paying a dime for it. I wouldn't pay a dime for it. That's the thing, you know. It's cute. And what you gonna do about it? And she ever came out with a song called "Put Some Meat on My Bones," I'd go listen to that. She lightweight in more ways than one. Oh come on now, you got to be kidding. Bob Fosse, of course. Breezy can dance, but no one is calling him unless, of course, he talking to his newer fans. No one is No one would say him and Bob Fosse in the same sentence. Good dancer though. I think Breezy can move, but that's all I got for him. I just think he's just a mid cat at best. Bob Fosse was legendary. Different style. Yeah, I think I heard about Ariana Grande, but how I can't wait to hear that. Mm-hmm. Um, Depends on who you asking me about. Depends on who you ask me about. I mean, different fan bases are annoying for different reasons. Um, Depends on who you ask me about. I'll tell you how I find that fan base. Um, Most people's fan bases are annoying because that's all they're gonna listen to, and they're gonna fight you no matter what. They're gonna fight you even if you are a fan of said artist. You know, the problem with him is that he's a talented dude, probably the best entertainer of his generation, stage man, but he never grew nowhere. Jay-Z called him out and said, "You just settled." Just it's just like he kind of got caught in a trance, and he never evolved. Got talent, got soul in his pipes, but the batteries in his back don't go nowhere. They blink like they there, but they never go to full. Tonight, I think I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna make a bold prediction. Whoever wins tonight's game is winning the series. That's how I feel. Neither one of these teams have lost a game one in the series. So whoever wins game one is winning the series. Because I think they can impose their will. Um, it's important for New York to win because they get home court back, but also it starts tonight. Um, New York psychologically gets a big hand if they win. If San Antonio wins, they feel like, hey, we can finish these cats off quick. When you say saved, no one saved. No one saved neither one. I mean, Quincy tapped into an R&B pop market that without having a Michael Jackson around, he doesn't hit the heights that he does. He would still be considered as as a great producer, but he wouldn't be seen as Quincy Jones without working with Michael Jackson. As far as Michael Jackson goes, he would still have a very good career, but he would have been better. He'd have been a better version of Usher, and like a Bobby Brown, and kind of like I've got to put in perspective how I would say this. Been like a hit making artist with great talent, but never reached his full potential. That's how I would say. So they both were impactful to each other. Because Michael would have been good, but what Quincy did the biggest thing Quincy Jones did, as far as Michael is concerned, is that he challenged him. He went out and got the I Can't Help It or the Ride Templetons or the Human Nature or the Man in the Mirror. And he gave Michael Jackson a yin and yang. And that's what he did. So that's what to me was his best strength. He gave him balance as an artist, which that's what you're supposed to do. You know, get the most out of everything. Because if you do, you get a complete record. I think the reaction of people, that's because you can watch it at home and get hype. Watching with people who are enthusiastic and respond, that is like a big time W. hmm And it's almost like if you're going in there feeling like you zombie or alien because you're supporting Michael Jackson fan, but you see others, you're like, yeah, this feels good. This universe feels good. That's the vibe. But it doesn't hurt watching it wherever you watch it because you were witnessing something that really was organic. I don't really care for the crowds. And I tell you a story. We went there, had my mask on, eating popcorn drink. I was still short. I was still. The only time was the last night I went, but even then I was still on the end, so nobody was nearby me. But I didn't mind because again, this was something that people clapped and they were happy, and it was love in there. So that's what made it worth the while. Generally speaking, I don't need to be around people to get entertained. However, this was an exceptional situation, and I think it triggered a lot of effect with folks. So that's how I look at it. Hold up. So crowds are good. I again, what's the biggest reason you think movie favorite is so? That's a great question. That's a great question. So let me answer that. Um, Let me start one by one. The movie theaters, because it costs too much to go to the theaters, you can go buy dinner for that. You can make almost 2 or 3 meals of what they want when you buy your tickets, your popcorn, your drinks. You could buy your couple of, you can make 2 or 3 meals out of that. Depends on how you eat. So that's a problem with that. And the quality of the movies is janky. There's a lot of crap. A lot of mid movies out. It ain't worth it. The record stores. Now they don't really sell CDs and stuff like that no more. They're not pushing that agenda. So a different era. That's different. The malls are too big and ginormous. I was at a mall recently. It was big, which blew my mind. Um, that whole thing is another era. Yeah, the video store. You meet people. Yeah, conversation. You saw films. People work behind the counter. Yeah, that's what they've done. Basically, they've made it pandemic like level. They say they don't want to lock down. They want to lock down. Everything is becoming more remote. You push a button, you get your food. You push a button, you get whatever. I had a buddy of mine during the lockdown. He bought himself a um a car online. You know, the Elon Musk car. That bought that car. hmm So they've actually done what they set out to do. hmm And people are attached to it. Because them days of what you remember are long gone. I was telling a relative of mine, I say, shucks, 2019 is old school now, right? So what can you imagine 99 was like? '09 was like. Think about it. '09, you was messing with ringtones. That's how Rihanna blew up. In 99, you was still going to a record store. Now, past 2019, you just push a button And you get your food, you get your drink, you get what you want. You ain't even, Brunson and Fox. Nobody cares about Wimby and Cat. Because Cat's not marquee value. Brunson and Fox, I'll tell you why. And that's a good question. Fox got a lot on his behind. He got to deliver. That is huge. The guard play is everything for San Antonio to win this series. Because the Knicks are going to hit them with that. I'm going to say 05. I ain't saying no 2010. I'm going to say 05 for me. That's sad, though, if that's considered old school now. Which it really isn't, because it's more like 20 years. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. You got to be a pushing a 25, 30-year act before I consider you old school. I don't consider no act old school. They got to be at least 20 plus years. Breezy will be almost old school in about another 2 or 3 years, which is sad. Well, you know what? The thing is that if that's the case, then what y'all got right now that's making me not long for that? Because you ain't got nothing out now that I'm sitting there going, oh, okay, this is the era of this. It's more like, you know, that's why people got to be careful when they be dissing stuff. You know, prehistoric shit. That stuff still holds up. Ask your rappers who be sampling everybody's music who they sample. They not touching stuff that, I think people miss that prehistoric. Yeah. I didn't say he wouldn't be a factor. I didn't say he wouldn't be a factor, but they gotta have OG Nobley, Josh Hart. They gotta figure. They gotta do what they did against Cleveland in this series for them to win. Let me go by one. Not to Nelly. Little Wayne, hip hop's different because if you're a decade plus, you are old school by default. Because hip hop is a different juggernaut. I hate to say that about 112 because they too corny in that regard. Faith, yeah, Mary J. Faith. Beyonce been 30 plus years. You can't argue against that. Yeah. 50, no. Because he didn't really hit like the last 20 plus. Jay-Z, unfortunately, yes. And Sierra, no. R&B acts are held different than the hip hop. So, hip hop, it comes with an asterisk. They not going to be rusty. They won't be rusty. They'll be prepared. I saw them practicing the Michael Jackson music on the thing on Instagram today. They're not gonna be rushed. The biggest thing they gotta worry about is just making sure that they don't get overwhelmed and take that first hit. And if they can rotate their bench, that's the key. See, because that's why OKC lost. They couldn't rotate against them. But I think whoever wins game one wins the series. It's that kind of series that you don't have the kind of luxury of feeling each other out because of the circumstances. If you're New York, you need to keep that fighter mindset. I don't pay her no mind. What you want me? Oh yeah. So if she was to go perform, how like what 20 minutes outside of a Holiday Inn with her what 3 or 4, 5 songs? Please give me a break. She didn't put music out like that too. Yeah, she been around, and I see that's another thing. I think it's underrated, but I don't think that it's one of those songs that I think that unless of course you're a Tina Marie fan, it was cool, you know. But it's not one of them songs I go, oh, I gotta, that's all. Liked it, didn't love it. Out on the Limb was the one. That's the one. Out on the Limb. Boom, 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 boom. Mhm. So, mm. I like that song more so back in the day, but Out on the Limb still holds up. Well, Rick James, one of my favorite artists ever. Let me come back live on this. You say somebody I dig, I gotta bring it live. Rick, one of my favorite artists. Um, basically said, "Let your hair out." Um, but then when Michael got into that after Thriller and did well the world and it did bad, he really did expand what he was doing. And Rick wasn't as peak and prime as he was earlier, but you know, no, it's not. It's because the production changed and the artists are hardly no longer here. We're not the same. Yeah, because he had a bigger base. After Thriller, you know, Rick was bigger at one time before the video era, before the Suits era, but um, it went into a different way. No, I'm not. And of course, I was born in Buffalo. I love Rick. I just like Michael more, but I love Rick. Rick James underappreciated as a songwriter, as a producer, band leader. Um, he made records that we party to. You know, Rick made you think, made you feel. He was very expressionist. It's just that when Michael Jackson and Prince blew up, and Lionel Richie blew up, and Ray Parker Jr. too, because Rick was bigger than all those cats once upon a time. But you know, and Rick was a wild one, and Rick was you know, didn't care, and he spoke his mind. He was bad. I mean, them horn arrangements with him and Danny LaMelle, I loved them. Loved them. Another Stone City band. I liked Glow because I like the horn arrangement on the track. I like Moonchild. There's some stuff I liked on that record. You know, I think for me, 78 through 85. Um, I did like Wonderful. That came on there. That's Wonderful. I like Lucy's Rap. That was the cut. But everything else I could take a leave. Freak Flag. Yeah, he, at that time, Sweet and Sexy thing, it just didn't have that. It was missing that thing. So it did go downhill. But in his peak in his prime, he was a bad dude. Peak and prime Rick James brought hits, soul. He put you in the mood. He put you in the mood. So I ain't got no problem with that. I got no problem at all. 'Cause, Rick was bad. I liked it. I liked it. It's not the Charlie Chaplin because Chaplin wrote it. It was heartfelt. I wish he had a pretty much done an album along the lines of that because I think that could have been really nice with him and a full orchestration. You know, um, it was really straight to the point. And "Smile" is one of my favorite songs ever. And I think the word Charlie Chaplin was a bad talented dude. Had some personal issues, but bad talent. So "Smile" is a really good song. Um, Not one of them songs. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about something else. Never mind. Yeah, I dug "Smile." You know, I liked it because I like listening to standards. Now, then you hear Nat King Cole's version. Again, Michael used more of a modern twist to it because he could afford to. Had that whole string section. I think it was Jeffrey Lubbock. If artists recognize because they got to do what the master tells them what to do. Um, I'll give you a case in point. It was 2006-07. Chamillionaire had came off of Riding Dirty, if you remember. And they told him he had to have a record with a sticker or they couldn't sell it. So that's what happened. Chance the Rapper. Remember? You're supposed to be almost Mr. Clean, Mr. Wholesome. Gotta do what you gotta do. You got to do what they want you to do. They want you to sell your soul, you know. They want you to conform, you know. So they that's what they do. They sample songs and they agree with you when the lights ain't on, but they're not in a position, especially now. There's no reason why you mess with these labels, except for marketing. That's how they get you with marketing and distribution. But make no mistake about it, they get told what to do, and if they don't follow suit, they ruckus get shelved, and it comes out their budget. So they got to do if they want them to work with Sexy Red or um, Purple Plus. That's what they got to do. That's what Lizzo's finding out the hard way. You see, Lizzo out here, she was vegetarian, now she's got to do rib ads to make a buck. That's just the reality. In case y'all don't think I keep up with what's happening, I saw that whole thing with Lizzo. So, so they mess with you because it's all acting. I think I've had a discussion before. Funny you mentioned Charlie Chaplin with Smile. The old studios Hollywood was banked off of. That's how the industries came into business. They was old movie theaters, and the music was a latter second. Yeah, they do. Because in hip hop, you remember the soft rappers, the TV. Now if I had told you a man to a fist that 25 years ago that uh, Ice Cube would be easy to be negotiable with, and that Will Smith would put a two piece across somebody's face, who would you have believed? You'd thought I was crazy. They sell you on an image, you know. So they got their way of doing things. Well, yeah. Well, actually, the ones that are hard are usually soft. It's all a stage. I remember, what was it? Who was that cat that talked about the rappers back in '87? And he said he liked it. He said, but most of those cats that came off was soft. So, which I believe. Take Salt and Pepper's got a bad deal right now. Them chicks is hood chicks. They played all soft on TV. Them some hood chicks. Ice Cube was no different than Will Smith. He went to ITT Tech. You ain't never seen Ice Cube get on stage and put hands on nobody. Then again, he don't get nominated for no big awards either, but still. Just saying. We got different ways. It's all stage. It's all acting. Mm-hmm. If you ask me who had more impact good on the culture, I say Public Enemy. Who's more popular on the culture? Wu Tang, because of East Coast bias. But who had more impact is NWA. See, that's why you got, when you ask me that, I can say all three. Now, Special Ed says NWA for the wrong reasons. They were Public Enemy, but also with a Luke Camp, a Two Live Crew twist. Wu Tang was spirit strictly ahead doing what they did, but I think that all three of them can make a case for better or for worse. NWA for me. Wu's bigger because they had the better branding. Public Enemy, you had to be a diehard fan to appreciate them, which I still dig, but different type of, you know, mm-hmm. Because he's a black man who never put his pants down, dragging. He didn't slurp. He educated himself. He spoke out. And he came on an era where you had to say something. He don't tap dance. He don't tap dance. And he doesn't try to get support of people. You got to respect him to when people respect him, respect him. He don't broadcast his business either. They got a lot of stuff that they do, and I follow him on X, but he doesn't put himself. He speaks from the soul, you know. So that's how I look at him. They, when you ask me about certain cats who don't, it's because they don't put themselves in a situation where they'll line themselves up to be had. That's the key. You want to be, he ain't all that shuffleboard because he couldn't go but so far as a solo rapper. Scarface was the dog in that situation. Willie D is Scottie Pippen to Scarface's Jordan. Okay, so but as a content creator, What he do on his show, that's his pay. That's what he's thrived. He's very articulate and he sticks to the script. He has good sense of humor, good balance. There you go. I put Willie D second for the rapping going, as far as what's in the group. But the thing is that again, it's a lot of different things that have to hit. But if you find a way to hit, you just hit. No, his thing was better suited to be in a group. And again, there are artists that they're just better suited to be in a group. Then there are artists that separate, but to be separated, you gotta really be dynamic. So, um, you're gonna start Buster Rhymes. You're gonna cut Willie D. And you're gonna have to. I mean, you're gonna have to bench Willie D. And you have to cut Rand. And only MC Rand because of who he was with. That's the reality. And Willie D's voice was tight. I don't like this one because I don't really like Busta Rhymes that much, but he's clearly got more star power, etc., etc. So that's how I look at it. He's good for hooks. And when his leaders of new school, he did that little hook for them, was carry, did a little hook. So, mm-hmm. It's all good. I don't now. Now she can't touch no Missy. Missy better production and stuff. Nicki Minaj when she ain't doing an artificial Barbie thing was decent, but she ain't touching them. Mm-hmm. Nah, Nicki was okay, but I don't hear that kind of Nicki. What I heard. I'm gonna start Marvin. Okay. So now, um, I'm going to start Gladys Knight. I'm gonna have to bench Donna Summers, and I gotta cut Stephanie Mills. And I love Stephanie Mills, but Gladys and Donna can give me more versatility overall. I think Stephanie Mills gives them a run on stage. And I like Stephanie a lot. This is tough, but I had to pick. So those two would stay. Hmm. No, it was a great album. He wanted to be seen as a jazz artistry. Um, and the soundtrack didn't do nothing. The movie was kind of, but it was one of his best music. Yeah. So I thought Trouble Man was a very good arranged album. Had a nice soulful strut. Um, that's it. So see what we got. So I thought it was a good one. No, you heard wrong because I think it was a good follow up to what's going on. And before Let's Get It On, um, it showcases musical chops. It's a lot of instrumental pieces. That's probably why some people don't like it because artists back then used to get to be on these labels. They get to kind of do what they wanted to do. So, oh, you got this. They say, okay, that's it. So, so. Are you for real? Lover Girl got more legs, but I don't think I would even think about the 10 with Janet. That's, uh, uh-uh. Yeah. I'm taking Lover Girl easily. No, I thought the Trouble Man was a good soundtrack. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Oh, that's come on now. You gotta be kidding. Burn this disco out in a blowout. The lyrics and Prince's rockabilly stuff never did much for me. No, no. Billie Jean. And I love 1999 the song, but Billie Jean is just like one of them songs that again it was the takeover. 1999 is a funky song, but so is Billie Jean. But head to head is Billie Jean. It still sounds fresher. 1999 was cold, but it's just something about Billie Jean that's another level. So, um, the title track. Let me get on back live on this. Um, the title track it's got more groove than "The Girl Is Mine," the Thriller song. Um, um, Beat It's got it beat. Bill Jean's got it beat. Human Nature's got it beat. PYT's rhythm. Mm, the more you listen to PYT, especially when you listen to the instrumental parts, it's kind of hard. Yeah, and then Lady in My Life is So no, so it might hang with one or two songs, but not on the whole. Because Beat It, Billie Jean, and Human Nature stomp a hole through it. No. I never was blown away by the title track. I thought it was a good song, but I thought the choreography and what he did with it took it to another level. I think his harmony, but it's one of those songs though that you would aspire to, you know. But the best song is debatable. Better album than what's going on. You mean better song? Well, there are two different types of forms of creativity. Marvin went for more of a perspective of civil rights and that sort of thing. And Michael had a talking about different things. It was more of a different interpretation of play. Um, Beat It got a message though that would definitely rival what's going on. If you go by that, yeah. Let me take you back. Let me take you back. When we bought that rocker, "The Girl Is Mine" was the first song. There was no video. Billie Jean, because of how he's dressed and what he did in movement, but again, Motown 25 had more to do with that. If you want to get technical, if I'm gonna be technical, that had more to do with that. Um, Beat It was great and Thriller was great, but that's only three videos, so it's not this big onslaught of videos where it's like, oh, we discovered Mike. No, no, because I had to rock it out 6 months before they even started putting a video. No, but I understand. I'll say this about Bad. It's a great record. It's gotten better as time's gone on. And one thing I will say about Bad, unlike his other records, it probably was his best showcase record to bring live. I love it live better than I actually do the studio. I think the live is where it really hits. There, it's like, yeah, I so get it when people go crazy about it. Yeah, yeah. I think it's great for a stage goes. I think he really upped the ante with Bad. The way it was recorded, the technical. I think all that made it. Yeah. So I'll give you that. But for my ears and where I came up on, no, I can't say that. Because the reason why I can't say Bad is because there were some songs on there that, you know, I thought I thought like Just Good Friends was kind of corny. I like, you know, uh, but another part of me, that thing goes hard. That thing goes hard. That's how I know Quincy Jones didn't have a hand because that production on that song got a groove to it. Yeah, well, again, this music is subjective. Like I tell you something. Sometimes you go back and listen to records. It's all subjective, but then there's also comes a point where you kind of almost hear the hoopla. Yep, it's got that doo 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 because when he did it in Captain EO, he was leaning there. I think that's one of the reasons why he wanted to stop messing with Quincy Jones. He wanted more of a groove based music, and Quincy had it more structured, so it didn't leave for a lot out of the pocket. It's like stay in the pocket and stay smooth. So, so that's what I'm gonna say with that. Hmm. Okay, let me bring you in on this because they can't win. Can't win. And why would you waste a guy's potential and future when you can't win? What good is he gonna do being a team that goes through quarterbacks like you change your underwear? I mean, really, provided you clean yourself every day, they go through quarterbacks like that every day. I'm just saying. So they did him a solid. They did him a solid. They not winning nothing. I mean, this is a team that struggles to win. There's 7 days in a week. They said the winner at 70 games. Smooth criminal. Cause I ain't that busy on Let's Go Crazy except for the solo and the long version. And it just sounds like Kenny Loggins Footloose anyway. Just sounds like Prince was trying to, freeze frame by the J. Giles band too. That's what Let's Go Crazy remind me a lot of. He was listening to MTV. I listen to Midnight Train to Georgia more, but ain't no mountain high enough. It's probably hits uh the Marvin Gaye and Tammy hits more. Shador depends on what kind of he'll probably have to ride the pound of battle for his job. I don't even know if we watch Cleveland for him. I don't watch Cleveland because they suck too much, and they just tend to just do things that self destruct. You know. Yeah. I mean, they always have something, but I hope he makes it there. But they got to be one of the worst pro sports teams I've ever seen. I mean, they just suck. You know, they suck. Thank you for the person who was the 10th person to hit this video and like it. Thank you. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I don't know why it's fashionable to make Brunson seem like he just ain't belonging because the Becky Hammonds and Draymond Green. I'm gonna tell you something. When you're on that level, no one stops you from getting to where you want to get. Okay, so but the Spurs ain't playing against OKC. Okay, so just so you understand that. Oh, this is by disaster. By default, I gotta pick Akon, and then I say Shag, and then you can, Chevron's got to go bye bye out of them three. If Castle, that's not again. You gotta remember something. They if Brunson plays like he's supposed to, and they balance out, they're gonna be a problem for him. I tell you, New York possesses a different problem than OKC. Aaron Donald, because you had to put two and three people on him. I mean, he really, because he brought a title. Are you kidding? He had people calling him a goat. No one ever says that about Miles Garrett. Miles is bad, but no, no, he ain't. Cause Shaggy was, I mean, Akon was big. Locked up was more harmony. Shaggy comes off like a novelty act, and it's cool if that's what you like. Mm, smack that. Oh, smack that. Akon was once considered the hottest cat in R&B. When was Shaggy considered the hottest cat in pop? That don't mean nothing. So you can hold a record. Does that mean that people are more worried about him than Aaron Donald? No. Aaron Donald led his team to a Super Bowl. Aaron Donald was a handful. Play with a guy like that. We're gonna find out what Miles is made of when he plays for the Rams because put up or shut up or you make it count. She didn't put emphasis on her music. She's more talented than Madonna and her Pinky, but she can't write. She can't seem to understand just to stick to simple, good melodic music. She's either trying to do the Euro thing, 80s pop, trying to overdo it too much, as opposed to just and like when she did that song with Bruno. She was singing. She wasn't over the top. Her whole shtick is so tiring. That's what hurts her. She doesn't. She doesn't. The sad part, Madonna was a huge influence and she surpassed in terms of talent, but she never surpassed in terms of the artistry. So therefore, she's what I mean. She tried too much. She needs more power ballads. She needs more. It's just that she's trying to appeal, and you know, that's what hurts her. And the audience gave up on her too. That's the worst part. Because I believe that had she just, you know, she came out strong, and then she went into that Madonna double broke Junior Whopper and fell off. I'll say this: she's like a female version of Bruno, talent wise, but she ain't got his hit making ability consistently. And see, she just doesn't. It's a way you got to put certain material out and hit, and people kind of moved on from her. Like I said before, the antics got the best of her. You know, so. But again, she paid her dues, and she's wildly successful. She got in film, did a lot of things, but that's what happened. So her debut album was tight. That's where you thought like, oh, that's what I'm going on. That was like she could write grooves, she could write hooks, she was melodic. I remember when she was on The Sopranos, young girl, and I remember when I saw that old footage of her, Nora Jones. She can play. She can play a lot of stuff, but she did that androgyny duo thing, which people didn't really, she tried different things, you know, you know. So I think that when she blew up me, she did what she did. But you ask me, no one talks about her like that. Mm-mm. And if I'm going by how it was with Madonna after almost 20 years in, because Madonna had a run up until the mid 90s. So if I go by the first 12, Madonna's blowing her away. So I don't even know. You know, I heard that last record, and it had a couple of decent tracks, but it wasn't nothing I would get caught buying. Madonna, to me, was still trying to chase the disco Starburst crew clubs. Her music was not, it just sounded like someone went through the motions. So it kind of was like milk toasty for me. A lot of production. Janet didn't really have any direction. She was just being raw. But when you came out with the kind of record she did prior, you know, I'm starting Gaga. I'm benching Adele and I'm cutting Ariana Grande. That's not hard. Gaga got more talent than her Pinky. And she could actually do Adele and Ariana Grande's career. And she, Adele is a one trick pony, but she's got enough to keep something that she'll stay solid. She'll be a solid B. Ariana Grande just got to come up with the right songs and the vibe. That's what's killing her career. Yes, they did. I knew that. That's why Timberlake was like all happy and giddy. No. So, well, a black woman getting up there getting, and a white guy touched up on her, but still, she still took the brunt of the abuse. He didn't pay no price. He's paid a price with the people in the streets, though. Nope. It was a catchy song, but it just sounds like a generic take on what Michael had did back then. And did it do wonders for Justin Timberlake? Are people still playing it at your local cookout? No. That mess that Pharrell gave him was leftovers. It was cute, but it's not household music. Does Rock Your Body still get played as much as You Rock My World right now? Or well, Janet and him were messing around briefly. She broke up with Jermaine Dupri, and she and Timberlake were messing around. She was messing around with quite a few cats, and you know, mm, so yeah, a lot of stuff goes on, you know. But I've never seen the person who had their stuff pulled on and tugged at get more penalized than the person that did the pulling. That's where the mind jetter worked in, you know. So, but he's stunk it up the last 15 plus years. No one's sweating him. A little country record went glad bag, so no one's sweating him. So there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot that goes on. I'm gonna be on tomorrow. Just letting people know I'll be back on tomorrow. Um, Glad we got through today. It's on for a couple hours. No, no, because she was a movement. But how could I compare a young blonde white girl to a young black kid? Where if you're talking about moving to an extent, there was a movement, but yet she still had far easier roads. And sadly, the flame didn't last as long. No, she's not comparable to him. She had impact like him to an extent. But see, the reason others too is that she was spearheading in sync. She was goats of what? Billy goats? Yeah, I give you that. Bah. Nobody believes that lie. Mariah is looking for credibility, and Taylor Swift knows better. And Whitney Houston stomps a mud hole through both of them without trying. Come on now. They formed a duet together and formed a rock metal. That would be interesting. But no. I know Billy Goats, I don't know about no musical goats. I liked I'm Your Baby Tonight better. I like the vocal run she did. I like the acousticness of Always Be My Baby. But I like Whitney's changing to the structure of the beat. Mm. Marvin Gaye. Even though Mayfield wrote great songs and had impact, but Marvin Gaye, man. Like Tupac said it in you know, keep your head up. And Mayfield was bad, like from music, but Marvin Gaye, man, Marvin. Hmm. So I'm taking Marvin. Okay. Yeah, I've said that. I had to deal with this idiot though, who'll be on a site and he tried to downplay that man, and I was like, man, look, your credibility is shot. You can't say no mess like that. Hathaway was a beast, yo. Hathaway was a beast. So, yeah. Dion Ward, the songs are bigger. I love Roberta Flack too, by the way. Love her, but Ward was still. You understand the impact of them songs? They still to this day. Neo was doing a cover of "House Is Not a Home." Think about it. Shoot, they're 60 years old and now Flack is close. Flack is close, but that's exactly what I mean about money tracks and stuff like that. But I gotta give Dionne Walker due, because she was a stylist that they really, you know, and you think about it, there's like a link between Nancy Wilson, Carmen McRae, and then when you get all the way to uh, Tina, you get to Alicia Keys and stuff like that. So, so all right, let me check this clock because I'm gonna get ready to roll. Cause I've been on for a couple hours. Okay, man, what's up? How long you gonna be on? I'll talk to you a little bit longer since you coming on. I'll give y'all like I'll make it 17. I heard maybe. I mean, I think that him getting Miles Garrett would definitely be almost worth coming back for. You know, the Rams are close. Long as Puka don't be saying nothing offensive and Matthew Stafford's wife don't say nothing stupid, then they should be fine. Yeah, because then who's ever free safety and they do safety blitzes, that would be huge. Because when Von Miller got that, it was just enough, or Von had just enough. But this is like, you know, yeah, because you notice those are the real right there. There's a difference. Swift can't hang with them, and Swift can't hang with Karen Carpenter on the white girl side. Let's keep it 100. She can't touch on the white girl side. Uh, if you're doing a duplicate, you're gonna have a tough time. So much has to go your way. No, she didn't have enough songs to match them. But I'll say this: I liked her. I put her right before. I put her right there with Flag. But Dion Work. When you hear them songs, I tell you, Think about it, as a black woman as a songstress, and then they went and got to what Streisand did and what white female artists was doing, but she was doing that, because this was some styling that was so smooth that you really don't have a counterpart to. That's the thing. So I like how they did that with her though. Britney Spears for me, I liked her music better. Swift is more talented, but Britney just hit me more. Oh, Joe in a blowout. Montel had some catchy songs, but he just didn't have enough depth. Tyrese can sing, but he don't know what to do with his music. Case is like a triple deluxe broke R. Kelly, and I just have to say that yeah, Joe wins it. He's not gonna play like Chad, but what he can do is he'll push him out. Now he ain't the softest, but I say this in a big game, when you're playing for a chance to go to the show, that's one of the most embarrassing forms I've ever seen. And see, if Stephen A. Smith wasn't worried about his master and his boss, you air that white boy out every day and twice on Sunday for that. That was embarrassing. He's up for an extension. He should get an extension in his hair and put it in his hair and tell people that ain't Chad, that's Brad, because ain't no way in the world that you should pay that man. That's what I said. That's why I said if the Knicks they don't do what they supposed to, they over in 5. But at the Knicks, I like them in 6. See how that rhymes? Uh, he shouldn't have to say that. You cats went to a finals and won a chip in a game 7. You cats, and the kind of run you on. Why would you have to say that? I tell it all the time. If Chad Holmgren understands his inner Clay Thompson, he could be an incredible sidekick and play up and play great, but he couldn't even hold his end up. I think they're gonna make that trade. I think they're gonna make that trade. No, they would, because you don't want to keep a disgruntled guy that's in his 30s who's injury on your team. And this is the thing: you could flip Chad somewhere, and or you could bring in other pieces. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't trust the way they talk, that double talk. That's got all the makings of a trade pretty quickly. So I expect that trade to go down pretty quickly. Now, if Milwaukee was a title contending team, but they what? They're what? 5 years removed from that? Yeah, you make that trade. You make that trade. Yeah. I still think he'd have been more scared going to Golden State, but you make that trade. If OKC can make that trade, you make that trade. They will get it. But Milwaukee's looking to rebuild anyway. You can't go through what 1, 2, 3 coach. You lost. Okay, your first coach, Budu gone. The other brother was gone. Doc gone. Shoot, you're gonna be in 4 coaches in 4 years. Yes, you gotta go. You gotta go. That's a no-brainer. They're going through too many coaches, and they don't have the right lineups, and they're just not a good team. So yeah, you gotta make that move. He is. But you know what? And he getting a pass because of his complexion. I hope he don't morph into Nick Collison, because that's what the thing is. What it's looking like. That's what it's giving me. They're gonna retire him as a Nick Collison, and that's sad. He gets to play with one team, and his uniform never gets washed. You know, he got to bulk up his chest and get some heart back. Cause when Yamba just stole his heart, when Yamba looked like Godzilla, and this fool looked like Air Bud. Shoot, he got slammed all on. You know, when Yamba took your hood, that's it. So yeah. Oh, they gonna shop him now. But I think it's because last year they thought maybe he'd do like I thought he'd do. Like, okay, he snuck one last year. he would step his game up. He didn't get the memo. He looked even worse this year. So yeah, you got to. You got to. You got to. And believe me, he a white dude that's a low post player. They don't want to do that, but they got to. They're not getting past San Antonio if they don't. Heck, they may not get past the second round if they do. Oh, I believe they do. Out for the main fact that San Antonio's still a green team. I don't think he'll disappear, and I think he can freelance. But the problem is with the Knicks is because of the way that they got quick releases and what they do, they turn you over. Now, San Antonio, if the Aaron Fox is huge, those guys don't turn the ball over and they can keep everything in front of them. Then the Knicks got to really get to that bench. They got whoever can get their 6 through 8 going. That's one. Yeah, he sucked in their finals, but I don't entertain conversation with him. Or I don't try to talk about him. 'Cause he got too many people around who be jocking him, and they want to get a comment. I'm like, there's no comment. His Laker era has been mid as all get out. You know. Yeah. And if Shepard, old boy off the bench can hit some shots, then yeah. I got the Knicks. I like the Knicks in 6. But if the Spurs win, I'm calling the Spurs in 5. That's how I'm calling it. Meaning in English, if the Knicks can mix and match physical and finesse, then they can get them in 6. But if the Spurs push that willpower and get physical with them, and they take what they learned from the Portland series, they take what they learned from the Minnesota series, and they take what they learned from the OKC series, they'll finish them in 5. Because if they take that grind and that pop, they'll finish it. But if they get cute and let something slip, that's the difference. It shouldn't go 7 because these two teams got all the makings of a team that should beat the other before we get to that point. And I'm going to tell you why. The Knicks firepower, the Spurs smothering, something got to give. So whoever's will back gets broken, that's how I see that series going. And it doesn't give me, when I saw OK in San Antonio, I thought, yeah, game 7. That's a physical series. That's got all the possibilities. This Knicks series in San Antonio, once you get past the elephants in the room, these teams are, it's going to be a real physical or somebody will get blowed out. That's how I look at it. See, I thought New York and OKC would have been a more compelling series because of styles. This one, I won't. I'll say his resume because he's still with Duncan and Robinson. But I'll say this though, he's on his way to top 35 ever. He'll be in that slot if he'd win. But if he can do it 2 or 3 more times, then he miraculously moves way up. So it all depends. I think it's good. I don't have no problem with the hype for him because I think he's a great talent. I think it's because LeBron called him the alien. I think it's something about him that it's distinctive because if he stays healthy and does what he do, he's going to be hard to stop. So that's how I look at him. Well, if he wins now, I think he's got a chance to get 2 or 3 more rings. But again, it's what they keep around him. They got the right basis. Now they just got to make sure they unload what they don't need. And I think he'll be in good shape for 5 more years because it's setting up. So no, nobody's gonna catch Bill Russell because it's injuries And there's also mindset and there's ego. I'm gonna say Shaq, LeBron, Shaq start, bench LeBron and cut Wemby, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because Wemby, it wasn't until like the mid part of the season that he woke up and turned the switch. Yeah. Had he been playing like this at the start of the season, no doubt he'd have been MVP unanimous. So it took him a couple to get it going. Shaq was already a problem as a rookie. He had an expansion team in the truest sense. And he morphed and they got to a finals and he was so his was already like, uh-oh. And then we get to LeBron. Yeah, came into Cleveland and showed a lot of promise his rookie year. Playing wise, he looked great. Like he belonged, you know. So that's the only thing, because those guys had a little bit more, it took Wimby. He got it going. And I'm going to tell you something. If the genie's at the bottom, this is how you're going to play from here on out. Well, you know, but so that's how I look at it. And I know he's only 22, but I remember a guy like Magic Johnson doing it at age 20. Well, no. They were missing something last year because they got their butt handed to them by Seattle on the regular. And they had the hustle to beat Carolina, so they obviously know they needed something. I think they were missing just a part. And when I say Super Bowl contenders, I'm talking about you back at the NFC Championship game going to the show. So he was. But he played at a level where he was in his second year and he was, because the Spurs always played a certain way. When Biamba didn't really connect to the midway point of the season, that's when he went off. Because no one saw them doing this. Do I trust Cat? I didn't say anything about Cat. I said all he got to do is do his magic impersonation. If he can give you points, rebounds, and assists, or be just enough to offset, you can move Wemby around. See what OKC didn't do right, they didn't knock shots down, and they were afraid to attack. And that's where they lost their confidence. But it wasn't like San Antonio was waxing their cakes. Aside from one game, that was pretty close. That's why I went 7 games. You're not talking about a freight train running team. And the Spurs will give you a game or two, as they did with Minnesota and they gave one to Portland. So they're not, when they get seasoned, there's things you're going to see that you're going to go, wow. But that's something that I hung on to because, I don't think you need those guys. I just think that you got to just keep on you got to get physical with him, but you also got to make him honest. And how you make him honest is that you rotate that ball. And I think that's what the Knicks can do. Oh, yeah. Well, if you really want to put somebody on him, you put a Karl Malone on him. Not guys who are just physical, but guys who could actually score and make him work. See, that's what Chad didn't get. You know. So you just have to be physical with him. And I think you can do that. Yeah, well, it's again, he this year was set up for him to have a breakthrough and he choked. Because if he plays halfway legit, they win. Yeah. Because he was afraid. I'll give you that. Because Latrell, Allen Houston were good together and Larry Johnson, but they had no Patrick Ewing, who was too old at that point. They did have dang, God, I can see him in my head. I want to say Kurt Thomas, but they also had he didn't play in that series. He was hurt. He was hurt that whole series. Who am I? Marcus Camby. Yeah. So I remember that finals. Avery Johnson was huge. What they did, Sean Elliott was huge. They beat him with their what I call the perimeter, and it was an ugly way that they did it, but they wore him down. You know, so. But anyway, that's my thoughts and takes about that, though. Yeah, he was good. He hit that big shot against Portland. That river dance. That was a big shot. Yeah, because the Robinson and was just clacking them in the box. The Knicks didn't have no cake in the box, so Spurs was making them ugly. It does matter in the sense of certain faux pas that they've done. I've watched them play, and they had a couple faux pas against Portland. Portland had no business beating them in a game. Uh, Minnesota had no business going six. And to be honest with you, they should have beaten OKC in about 5 or 6. I do think that they're showing experience in certain aspects because I think they could be even better than what they are. I know they can be. And like I said before, you're a guard, you're playing for your job, and if you're off the bench for the Spurs, because Johnson's a pretty good coach. And so if they get somebody that can complement, they can get the run that they need to play with Yamba and they play with consistency, you ain't seen nothing yet. This playoff run is nice, but wait till they get seasoned. That's where you're going to really see it. Mhm. All right, I think I'll be on for about 3 more minutes. Yeah, I would. He really doesn't offer anything right now, and they got nothing to lose. They losing out every year. Jokic is getting older, and his you can tell he's an injury away from being. They got to do something. Their defense sucks. They don't have no pick me up, and they already said everybody's tradable. So that's how to joke. So yeah, they suck. They're not that good. This will be because there's two factors: the Knicks factor and the Winyamba factor. So yeah, it will be. Because there's a big hurdle to overcome. Now, if Wanyama played for the Knicks and he was in the finals, that would be the last. LeBron would be begging to come there tomorrow, and so would Durant, because they're a mega player away from just. They're a mega player away from like that kind of. I don't think that I don't think they're gonna get. Oh, again, they're very compassionate about stuff uh because of who Jordan was, all the stuff that happened with that. So, um, he's good when he doesn't have to be held accountable. But when he gets held accountable, there ain't much. They gotta make a move. They gotta make a move because they were where OKC was and where Boston was, and I don't think Jokic has seen another ring if they don't make a change. They don't want to play defense. They get exposed on the perimeter. They streaky 3-point shooters. They don't create enough gap with that. He'd have to come off the bench. He's borderline off the bench now with the Lakers because he can't really impose his will. They had a good defensive scheme against OKC. It's just that they were lighting the cakes because DeAndre Ayton, that Chad Holmgren looked like Bill Walton. And, the rotations. They're trying to keep Austin Rivers and they're going to keep Luca. They got to get younger. They need a point guard. They need a real inside presence and another piece or two off the bench. So, in other words, the Lakers are nowhere close. So, No, he wouldn't come off the bench in San Antonio because he's boycotted. But that's all. And they're never going to win a chip. There you go. And see, the problem that you got nowadays, right? You don't have teams that have humble. People are selfish. So it's all about me. So that's why until you get people like the Tony Allens of the world, the Zach Randolphs of the world, the Rasheed Wallace of the world, the Ben Watts of the world, that defer, everybody now will be a star. Take Dylan Brooks, for instance. He played good D when he ain't acting, but now he got 3-point shot. That's what's up. I understand why they brought LeBron in, but the problem is that the star power they're not attract. They gotta bring in some pit bulls. LeBron had been about, you know, but too much went down. And again, he's just like Giannis. But you got 4 different coaches in the last 5 years. That's not a safe. That's not a good environment. And JJ Redick, if it wasn't for LeBron, he'd probably be almost on the hot seat too. He can win 50 games, but it's all for naught because they're not scaring nobody. You be a nice third seed and get your butt knocked out in the second round. So I got knocked out early in the last 2 rounds. Superman lover. I never was big on sexual healing. I understood the Caribbean beat, but it just didn't really do much for me. I thought it was kind of hokey. Superman lover, Johnny Guitar Watson. I like that one better. I was glad Marvin Gaye came back with a hit, but it didn't do nothing for me though. Okay, so I'm going in a couple minutes. I'll be 2.5 hours. I'll be back tomorrow. Fire and Desire. Because Rick and Tina tore that song up. So I'm going off for 1 more minute. The Night I Fell in Love, 85. Remember that record like yesterday. And, for me, his first few records were his best stuff. Yeah, I'm going to go in about 40 seconds. I just going to appreciate you coming. Are you coming on tomorrow? You going to be here tomorrow? I'll be on around the same time tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow, and then I'm back on Sunday. That's the plan. And that's what's up. Looking forward to comments tomorrow, though. We'll talk about the game one, the adjustments. Because I don't think there's going to be no fill it out. I think it's going to be our imposing our will, basically. Because when you play against the Spurs, you have nothing there, so you have to impose your will. So that's how I'm looking at it. So we will see. All right, peace the best. Appreciate everyone that came through. Thank you for the likes, the hits, the views, the responses. 83% said yes, that Miles Garrett makes an impact. So we'll check out. All right, peace the best. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. On my time. Peace.